I like what Benjamin Franklin said in one of his greatest quotes. He said, I quote, "Our new constitution is now established. Everything seems to promise it to be durable, but in this world, nothing is certain except death and taxes." Isn't that profound? Today I want to talk about one of the certain things in the world. As much as we want to avoid the topic around death and taxes, these things are certain and they are real. I actually lost 2 of my clients during COVID. So I felt as your accountability partner today, I need to talk about the subject around preparation of the death of a director. Hi, my name is Molen Mukuze. I'm the managing director of Brainwater Accountants. We call ourselves and we live by the mantra accountability partners. My today's topic is the death of a company director. Your critical takeaway out of this video should be how to prepare for the death of a director and what to do when a director dies. Hey, don't go around and tell the director, we need to fill in these papers in preparation for your death. You will be fired immediately. Okay, before we dig deep into it, why don't you just subscribe to this channel, like and share to someone you know who actually benefit from this content. Okay, when a director of a company dies, the Companies Act of South Africa requires that the company must notify the Registrar of Companies, which is the CIPC, within 14 days of death. The company must also give notice to the deceased representative, and within 21 days of the death, the company needs to file a return of change of directors with the Registrar of Companies. This sounds rough, but this is a requirement and you need to do it. The death of a director may also result in changes to the composition of the board of directors, depending on the provision of the company's memorandum of incorporation and the articles of association. If the deceased director held a specific position or held certain number of shares in the company, their death may trigger provision for fulfilling the vacancy for the transfer of those shares. If the deceased was a public officer as well of the company must appoint a new public officer as the procedure are outlined by South African Revenue Service, the SARS, and notify SARS of the change in the public officer. How can then a business prepare for the death of the director? Can be your question right now. A business can prepare for the death of director by taking the following steps or the following steps that I'm going to outline. Number 1, reviewing the company's memorandum of incorporation and the articles of association to determine what provisions are in place for the death of a director, including the processes of filling a vacancy on the board and the transfer of the particular shares of that. Yeah. Other businesses, especially specifically small businesses, do not even know where their documents are. So you can imagine this memorandum of incorporation. Number 2 is the business continuity plan. Having an alternative director who can assume the responsibilities of the deceased director in the event of their death is key. This can ensure the continuity of business operations and minimize disruptions. Again, directors of small companies need to ensure that their legacy stays forever and doesn't vanish when they are gone. Have a plan in place, business continuity plan. Number 3, establish a plan for transfer of the deceased director's shares, including a provisions for buy and sell agreement or other mechanisms that can be used to purchase the shares from the deceased estate. Number 4 is reviewing the company's insurance policies to ensure that adequate coverage is in place for the death of a director. Include key man insurance or other forms of protection. We are going to invite a specialist that can tell us more about the key man insurance. So why don't you just hit that notification button so that you don't miss out on that content. Number 5 is make sure your records are always updated. Keeping contact information, identification documents updated for the company's directors and public officers so that the company can quickly and easily notify the relevant authorities of the director's death. That's crucial, record keeping. Number 6 is ensuring that the company has a good communication systems in place to inform all key stakeholders, including the shareholders, the employees, the customers, and the suppliers, as well as any relevant authorities in case of the death of a director. So have a procedure in place. Number 7 is reviewing and updating the company's succession plan and business continuity plan to ensure that the company can continue to operate effectively in the event of the death of a director. If you have a succession plan and business continuity plan, well done to you. If not, put that in place, taking into account that death is certain, like what I said. Someone might say, Mule, what do I do if death is now here? I'm going to list the procedures to be followed. Number 1, if a director died, notify the CIPC within 14 days of the death. Number 2, give notice to the deceased personal representatives. Number 3, file a return of the change of directors with the registrar of companies within 21 days of the death. Number 4, review, go back to the company's MOI, Memorandum of Incorporation, and Articles of Association to determine the next step that you need to do if the director, in the event of that director, especially if that director is also a shareholder. If number 5 is if the deceased director had a specific position or held a certain number of shares in the company, their death, like what I said, triggered the provision for filling the vacancy as well as transfer of shares. If the director was a shareholder, like what I said, the transfer of shares need to be done. Check out the video we posted about the difference between the shareholder and the director, bearing in mind that the directors can be a shareholder as well. So you need to know the process that you need to take. Number 7, if the deceased was a public officer of the company, appoint a new public officer as soon as possible, following SARS process of changing a public officer, and notify SARS of that change of the public officer. It is important for the company to seek legal advice for the specific case and follow the regulations in order to avoid maybe even penalties or even fines if you don't communicate on time. In conclusion, as much as we don't want to pay tax, the regulator is there and they ensure that we certainly need to pay tax. Similarly, death is certain. A wise person prepare for this event, spiritual and otherwise. See you in the next video. Bye.